Do you ever think about the way your parents raised you and how that has affected you personally? How their ideas, their words, their actions have impacted you in the way that you look at life? Well, there are many ways that parents can raise their children, and one of those ways is by using strict parenting. And in this speech, I'll be discussing the pros and cons of this parenting approach. I believe I'm credible enough to speak about this issue because I've done a lot of research on different types of parents and how they can affect their youth, and how these parenting styles can make a huge impact on our future generations. I believe that it is important that we discuss these issues because whether we decide to be parents in the future or not, we need to be aware of the different types of parenting styles and choose the one that's best for our kids. In this speech, I'll be discussing one pro involving why parents don't see an issue with this topic and how it can benefit a child, and the cons revealing why people want to stray from this type of parenting style. One of the reasons why a lot of people like strict parenting is because it can be used to help children be more disciplined. Strict homes can help children become more academically successful because of their high expectations and restrictions. According to the article, The Advantages of Strict Parenting by Yvonne Van Dam, who lists ways strict parenting can benefit children, she says how children tend to perform extremely well due to those expectations. Strict parents may not even limit fun activities or experiences or children who do not succeed up to their standards. This incentive can induce more studying and less slacking off with schoolwork. Parents can use these incentives and get and make a lot of rules so that their children can be focused on just school or their goal-oriented activities. And the article continues to discuss how having parents that are strict can keep you focused. By limiting your access to outside distractions, you have fewer opportunities to stray away from your goals. Another reason why strict parenting can allow children to be more disciplined is that strict parenting can allow children to be more respectful of those with higher authority. Going back to the source, the pros and cons of strict parenting, Eva also discusses how toxic parenting methods can engrave in an individual the importance of respecting those in authority. A benefit of this is that manners are made to seem more invaluable, and behaving in ways that align with proper manners becomes second nature. As a result, children grow up understanding the importance of manners and maintaining a good character. When a kid is raised in a very strict home, or when they have to obey their parents, when they see other authoritative leaders, they tend to listen to them and respect them as individuals because that's how they were raised. Discussing this further, another source called The Pros and Cons of Strict Parenting from a teacher homeschool website. It also brings to light how children in strict homes who are used to obeying the rules are likely to not question authority figures and do what's expected of them. Now that we discuss the pros to strict parenting, there are a lot of cons that come with it that people try to avoid this type of parenting style. And one of the reasons they do so is because strict parenting can be manipulative and controlling. With authoritarian parenting, the relationship between a guardian and a child can be one-sided, with the parent always having the control. According to the source Authoritarian Parenting, the pros and cons, according to a child psychologist, parents that like the strict parenting method are likely to follow the phrase, children should not be seen, or should be seen, not heard, meaning that they can take care of them but not listen to them, and usually this results in a parent not listening to their child's needs mentally because they believe that their mentality is saying that I'm right as the parent always, while the child doesn't really have a say in what I do or don't do because I'm always in control and I'm always right. The idea is also proven in the article Authoritarian Strict Parenting versus Permissive, which is better in raising smart kids articles, and it discusses how overly strict parenting, that authoritarian parents have complete control over their children. Children are not allowed to question their parents. They then say how if a child does disobey a parent, serious consequences will bestow upon a child. Secondly, an authoritarian parent can control their kids in a way that have a hold on how their kid lives their lives. Some examples of these include how authoritarian parents can set unreasonable curfews for their teen, telling them how to dress, or to force them to follow a certain religion, or monitoring their electronic devices or where they're at all times. And many times these parents can also force children to be a certain way and not let them be who they want to be, and exclude their friends groups because they don't like how maybe a particular friend is in their friend group. In the article, 8 Characteristics of Authoritarian Parenting, the writer Kendra Cherry goes on to support the sense of control by saying authoritarian parents have lots of rule and may even micromanage almost every aspect of their children's lives and behaviors, at home and in public. Additionally, they also have many unwritten rules that kids are expected to follow. Even though children receive little to no explicit instruction about these rules, instead children are simply expected to know what these rules exist. And then the last main point, that people don't like strict parenting because it can cause damage to a child's psyche. A child raised with an authoritarian parent can grow up to have mental issues. According to the article, overtly strict parenting causes long-term psychological consequences, and experts. It states how children in these stern homes can suffer from depression and sleep deprivation, eating disorders, anxiety, low self-esteem, and poor academic performance, with all these pressures placed on them. In the article 12 Clues a Relationship with a Toxic Parent is Toxic by Darlene Lancer, a licensed therapist, she goes on to say how if our childhood was traumatic, we carry wounds from abusive or dysfunctional parenting, meaning that this type of parenting can lead to a lot of mental issues, and not only does it hurt the child now, but it will lead to many scars that as they grow up, they will never forget these moments, and it will forever impact them in the way that they live their life. Going further, mental issues caused by this parenting style can also inflict toxic habits on children as adults. In the video 10 Signs of Emotional Abuse from Parents from the YouTube channel Psych2Go, it tells us how depressed children can, from these types of parenting styles, can use bad coping mechanisms such as drugs and alcohol to deal with their mental issues. These thoughts can also lead to suicidal thoughts, and can ultimately damage a child and make them want to hurt not only themselves but maybe others. And in this trauma that they suffer, sometimes that could progress onto their own children, as these children that have suffered from trauma in their homes, they grow up and might continue the cycle and try to do the same to their own children. And in the source, Breaking the Cycle of Toxic Parenting, How to Silence Old Toxic Messages for Good by Karen Young, it describes how there's a cycle in which these adolescents do the same thing as their child and mentally hurt their children. She tells their audiences that there are 2 ways that our own history can have a influence. The first is to repeat what we have been exposed to. The second is to drive us to push hard against it and do things in a completely different way. She does this in order to help future parents to try not to be like their own parents that have emotionally caused or distressed them. In conclusion, as we go over the idea of strict parenting, strict parenting can be beneficial by making a child more well-behaved, but can also harm children in the sense that it can be very controlling and can lead a child to have a damaged psyche. The purpose of my speech again was to bring awareness to this type of parenting and how it can have both negative and positive effects on a child, and how it can in the future, as we discuss being parents potentially, that we choose the right parenting style that is right for us and our children. All the information that I spoke of is from qualified research done by me, and the sources are credible and reliable. And again, I remind you that this idea can come across in your life, and maybe you will have to decide whether you want to be a strict parent or be a part of another type of parenting style. And as the speech concludes, you may want to look back at my previous question for you and see whether you were closer to the topic than you thought you were.